Hey everyone, this is Sean. Today let's talk about GPT-5. I know a lot of people are just like me who were hyped up about GPT-5 because so many times publicly you can see that people are thinking GPT-5 is AGI. And as a startup founder or technical builder, you probably would think maybe it's pointless for me to learn or build all these kind of things anymore because AGI is coming. And Sam Altman also hyped it up really well. They did a really good marketing. They basically led a lot of creators to try their new tools, including the founder of Cursor, Michael, as well as Theo, one of my mostly watched YouTube creators. And the expectation has just been brought up so high that everyone thought 5 is the end game. It turns out that right now on the internet there are mixed comments. And in this video I want to share how I think about that. I think overall, firstly, the whole launch event felt like an iPhone 15 or 16 launch. What I mean by that is that it feels like they were trying to say a lot, but they didn't say much. For example, they were showing us benchmarks, they were showing us how well the model is at coding and what kind of, and as well as, it has less hallucinations, all those kind of stuff, which is great. But the reason why I use the analogies of iPhone launch is that everything about an iPhone is great. Like right now I'm using an iPhone to film this video and the lighting's great, the camera's great, but there's just no surprises anymore. And I think that's the first thing about OpenAI, which is everyone expected OpenAI or ChatGPT to be the absolute disruptor or innovator in the AGI space. And after, over marketing for quite a few times, people started to get tired of not getting what they wanted. So even if GPT-5 could be a great model, but because it's probably average in terms of the top 1 tier, people think that it's terrible. There's quite a bit of gap between what people was looking forward to because of all the marketing and what people actually end up getting. So I think that's the first thing. I think basically now in AI, not significantly better just means it's not good. Or it's much lower than expectation, or it's underwhelming, as many people use the word underwhelming. And what's funny is that before GPT-5 was launched, there was another launch called GPT-OSS, open source, and that was the first open source model launched by OpenAI. People were making fun of it because OpenAI was joked as closed AI for quite some time, and finally they launched the OpenAI for open source, and then shortly after they launched GPT-5. So I don't see anybody discussing GPT-OSS anymore, even if it was quite a bit of a hype when it was launched. So I'm not too sure if this is great marketing or bad marketing, but at least the result is the same. People are getting disappointed because of the overhype. And I think from a product perspective, if GPT-OSS and GPT-5 are not the same teams, probably GPT-OSS was hurt more because people are not even talking about it. Okay. Another thing about GPT-5, which I read on the internet, is that people felt like GPT-4o and o3 were taken away from them. And GPT-5 just felt like a repented version or a combined version of GPT-4o and o3, but performs not as good. Why do people feel like it's not as good? Personally, I haven't felt that much difference, to be honest. People are saying there's less emotions, there's less personality in GPT-5. Maybe I was just a nerd. I never paid attention to that. But I didn't feel that much of a difference. I think from a product or psychological perspective, it's probably because people don't want changes unless it's absolutely making life so much easier for them, like GPT 3.5 was launched at the very beginning, end of 2022, I think. Now GPT-5 is a rebrand. Yes, some free users can use it, but I think some user behavior has already been developed that you can just switch models depending on what type of task you're doing. If you're doing deep thinking, use O3 or deep research, whatever. If you're just doing some general task, use 4o. Once your users have some attachments to a product that you launched, I would say be very careful about taking away from them because, it's literally, software is basically features can just be disabled or hidden from the users. It's not like a physical stuff, right? Nobody's going to take away my microphone from me unless somebody stole it. But the software or AI models can just be hidden with one line of code. So I would say it's very dangerous that for some very loyal users, if you take these products away from them, because of the attachment people have towards your product, people can turn from like 500% positive to negative 10,000%, because people who are very, very attached to something could be quite binary as well, right? So from a user perspective, from a product management perspective, perhaps that's one of the main reasons why people were disappointed after they didn't get a much better model after GPT-5 was launched. I understand the design thinking behind this, which is they want to use this auto router instead of let users to pick their model, because most people don't know how to pick, even if you educate them. Human brains are lazy, so it makes sense from a design perspective that you just use one model that covers everything. But I think it would be much better if you did that first, having one model and then perhaps expand to more models. But doing it the opposite way would just make people feel like, hey, I already got used to, separating thinking and doing some general task or writing essays or writing code. Now you're telling me I have to use one model for everything, and the routing itself wasn't performing like wow for everyone. The third reason I think is about coding. I tried one shot with GPT-5 for several different vibe coded apps. Actually, in one of my previous videos for a GitHub explanations, I one-shotted a solar system with GPT-5. It was working fine. But for coding, which I believe is currently the most successful and most useful use case for AI, and it definitely has product market fit because it actually 10x, if not 100x, developers' productivity. Apparently, Claude from Anthropic is still the king. Like, nobody can decrown it very easily, even if GPT-5 claimed it is. And there are a ton of benchmarks out there, like Kimi K2 was hitting the benchmark, Alibaba Quinn was hitting the benchmark, and of course, Grok, Claude, OpenAI, all these companies are trying to hit the benchmarks. But in reality, most developers that I know are only using Claude. And there was some hype about Gemini Pro 2.5 Pro, but somehow Gemini 2.5 Pro just started to self-hate. For some reason, it learned some self-hating mechanisms like, oh, this code is not going to work. Oh, I'm so frustrated. I can't really solve this task. Like, it's not as emotionally stable for some reason compared with Claude. And that reputation has already been built. And that is the most profitable and most product market fit use case out there for AI, in my opinion. And GPT-5 did not decrown that. So for the developer or researcher community, I guess it's not the most expected release for us. Again, don't get me wrong, GPT-5 I think is great. I tried using it for some time, and I haven't seen significant difference between it and Claude, to be honest. But Claude is just sort of more stable, or maybe I have attachment to Claude as well. I just felt like the way Claude talks to me makes me feel like I'm coding. Like, you are absolutely right. The phrase that Claude always uses to reply to the builder just feels, I don't know, default for me now. So yeah, I think if a new model really wants to decrown Claude or really want to top the market, you really need to figure out coding, because that is the most profitable and most useful use case out there. I mean, you could argue AI search is important, but that's just using basic LLMs functionalities. You can write some prompts to make sure that you're doing the right search, right? But coding is literally productivity. It's generating code and software. So that's the most important productivity boost for developers. Another thing is that I think people are just emotional. I mean, there's nothing wrong about it. We're emotional animals. But the current algorithm or the internet is rewarding extreme emotions. Like, if you say, oh, GPT-5 is truly the best model I have ever seen in my life, like what Theo said in his previous video, to be honest, I believed it, right? Like, he's a big influencer. He's quite famous in the AI space, and I actually believed it. And now he made a video saying GPT-5 sucks. I also believed it. But this is like 0 and 1, black and white. There's no middle ground. And I think that's very interesting because currently the social media and any algorithm that feeds content to you would prefer very big words like mind-blowing, disappointing, like this one, game-changing, truly awesome, truly the next level, something like that. Honestly, so getting emotional or getting extreme really gets your attention given the current algorithmic world that we live in, but it also creates more disappointment, which enhances this loop, right? Like, people get disappointed, people get more angry, and then people comment more, and people make more posts, and then people start making videos about why they're disappointed or feeling negative, and the creators get more views. People get to release their emotion. People find out that, there's some people who think the same as them, and they feel like they're part of a community. So all these kind of things are rewarded by the algorithm. So I think that's why, like, even if GPT-5 is still not that bad, people would end up in a loop of either hyping it up to the God level, AGI level, or saying it just sucks, it's terrible. Honestly, I don't like that. I think it feels like politics to me, to be honest. Like two politicians are arguing with each other and then just shit talk about each other. I don't like that. I think we should objectively think about models. Like, I never trust or believe in benchmarks or just some initial tests. I think it's important to try it for a little bit, test it for a little bit, and only measurable things can tell the truth. Other things are just personal feelings. So as a builder, as a product manager, and as a founder myself, I think it's very important to sort of think through all of these noise and have some independent thinking here. And yeah, I just think that being very emotional is getting rewarded. This whole thing is a very typical phenomenon right now. So I'm not even surprised that, the turning point is coming so abrupt because people are getting disappointed. Yeah, last but not least, I guess one good news for us is that AGI is not coming, at least not very soon, even though people are trying to hype it up, right? And the hype that they try to hype it up has already collapsed quite a few times. AGI is not coming soon. If it is coming soon, then they should have released it instead of hurting themselves by hyping up and then not delivering in the future, right? I think that's a good news for us because for builders and for founders, that means that we can focus on the application layers and build something that's truly helpful for people who needs AI to empower their industries. I'm currently building something in the traditional industries like manufacturing, distribution, supply chain. And what I realize is that most people don't even know a lot of the most basic softwares that people use in business, let alone some AI tools. They're probably familiar with like Teams AI, Zoom AI, GitHub Copilots, all these kind of tools, but they're not familiar with how powerful things have already become. And there are not a lot of softwares built for these like industries that are not at the core of the AI group or the research group. So I think the good news for our founders is that if you truly understand what the prime pain points your customers have, you will have an edge to win in this case, because you're not competing with other foundational models. You're competing with traditional softwares that did not get built through AI, and they're not AI native, which means they're not thinking from a perspective where information could be summarized so quickly, could be extracted so quickly, and a lot of things could be automated, and the software can be smart. And if you truly understand the context of the industry, then you will actually build up some moat that won't be easily disrupted by the next round of release of another GPT. Okay, so I guess that's good news for students, for founders, for technical builders, that we can just focus on the application layer, right? Yeah, at the very end, I think GPT-5 is generally, it's still a good tool. I mean, it's very decent. You can use it. Like I was using it for processing a lot of my documents. I was using it, literally I was applying for some visas, and then it was helping me with some document processing and summarizations, all these kind of stuff. And also I tried coding with it, but I mean, it's a solid tool, but solid means average today. Unless you're world class, you won't meet the expectation the world wants, right? People are looking forward to magic, but people will soon realize if the scaling law is actually slowing down, that GPT models is just another iPhone. It's probably slowing down unless there's like a paradigm or infrastructure change. Otherwise, it seems like just using GPT doesn't lead to artificial general intelligence very soon. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I'm looking forward to a world where there will be AGI, but currently it seems like it's not coming very soon, and that's okay, right? We have more opportunities to focus on building something that people actually want and need, and the effort is still worth it, right? So yeah, that's it. That's about me, how I think about GPT-5, and some of my thoughts based on what I've been reading, watching on the internet, and what I've been discussing with friends. So hope that was helpful. If you like this video, like and subscribe and comment down below, and I'll make more videos about AI, vibe coding, and software development and founder building in the future. All right. Thanks very much. Cheers.